Good morning, everyone. I'm so delighted to be here today, and I'm going to talk about a very serious topic. It's very serious, okay? So I want you to pay attention about 10 proven steps to success for KM in operational excellence. Okay, and anyway, let's do it on a lighter note. Okay, it's a heavy topic, and I selected these based on my practical experience. But first, I'd like to send you Ganesh Chaturthi wishes. Today is the birthday of the elephant god, who is very revered in India. So he's the elephant-headed deity Ganesha, and he's also the god of wisdom and prosperity. So it is very good because when we are here at a knowledge management conference, we look at a person or a deity who talks about wisdom, okay, and prosperity. And that connection between India and Africa with the elephants is always there, as well as with Thailand, who was your Dr. Ribier from Thailand, who was your keynote speaker. And Ganesha is also the remover of obstacles. So we look forward to having a great year ahead till the next conference. So greetings from India on the occasion of Ganesh Chaturthi. So let me talk to you a little bit about myself as we go forward so that you get a bit of understanding about where I am coming from, and what is my setting. So I always like this word serendipity. I got into knowledge management by accident. I call myself an accidental KMMer. I had been for 18 years of my career, I had been in sales and business development. And then I was to join this iconic sales organization called Eureka Forbes in India, which was Asia's largest direct sales company. They had more than 5,000 salespeople on their rolls. I was to head one of the sales divisions. The person whom I was replacing had been with the company 20 years out of the 22 years that the company was in existence. So it was very exciting for me. I was to take a big career leap. And guess what? A week before I was to join, the MD calls me and tells me that this guy is not leaving. So we have a problem. He said, I'm going to Harvard and I need to park you in for 6 months because I'm going for the advanced management training program. So till I come back, will you look after something called knowledge management? And I said, hey, this doesn't happen to me. So I studied whatever I could on the internet about knowledge management. And the more I read about knowledge management in those days, the less I liked it because it was all about technology. They said knowledge management is a platform where everyone puts their knowledge and other people download the knowledge, and life is the happiest ever after place. But I felt knowledge management had some sort of possibilities. So I told the MD that, look, if you give me a free hand in taking knowledge management the way I would like it to, then I'll take over the function. And I don't think he had much choice, nor did I have much choice. And so that's how I got into the field of knowledge management. But getting into the field, I really loved it. I felt it was more about people. So today I am distilling my knowledge that I have. So 8 years I was in implementation in a consumer organization. I talked about Eureka Forbes, and 10 years in a construction firm. So this was Afcon's infrastructure. In fact, they're doing some work in Africa and many of the countries, almost 14, 15 countries. They do infrastructure projects. So 10 years I was with Afcons in knowledge management. So today, whatever I am going to talk to you about, the 10 principles, is based on my personal experience. And this is actually, we had various vastly differing cultures between the two organizations. Okay, in between, I did 2 years of consulting with other companies, but that is inconsequential. Here, 8 years I spent with one organization, 10 years with another. The cultures were vastly different, and the business speed differed. In the first case, a consumer sales, they had daily sales. They had door-to-door sales, so daily sales, monthly sales, cyclical sales, seasonal sales based on festivals, etc. Whereas the construction company projects were 3 to 5 years at least. Initially, it used to be 7 years, but now the time is crunched to 3 to 5 years. So you can see the business cadence also differed, and the caliber of the employees also differed. In the first case, I had only undergraduate and graduate, whereas in the construction firm, I had graduate and professional qualifications as well as we had workers, manual workers. Why am I telling you all this? Because I want you to understand that what I am talking to you about is based on my experience across multiple cultures, different people, etc. So do absorb some of what I'm talking to you, and you can ask a lot of questions. Now, I don't have access to the chat, so if you want to ask a question, either take the microphone and ask me. I'm okay during my when I'm speaking. If you want to interrupt me, I'm fine with that. Or you can put in the chat, but somebody will have to read out the questions to me as and when you want to the questions to be asked. You can take the questions during while I'm speaking or at the end. I'm okay with either of that. Okay. And today, what I've tried something different. I've always been inspired by the wisdom of African folk tales. So I try to introduce each principle, what I'm going to talk about, 10 principles, by first talking about a story from an African folktale, and then I will explain the principle and then give the example how we are going to go about it. Now, I have purposely not taken specifically any particular, in India also we have a lot of diversity. So we got a lot of folk tales. In Northeast India itself, there are seven different states. So they are tribes, actually, they are tribes. And the same stories go between tribes, but if you accidentally mention that this is from this tribe and not from that tribe, there's a lot of offense. So today I'm not mentioning specifically from where the story is, but I just say generally that the story is from Africa. So I hope that I'm able to do justice to the wisdom of the African folk tales. So let's talk about the principle one. Now, this is a story about an African village where one hut was on fire and people were passing by and making fun of the hut that it was on fire, little realizing that a few hours later the fire jumped and spread to the next hut, and then very soon the entire village burned down. So, what is the principle that I am talking about? The principle I'm talking about is that KM should address key business issues. In the introduction that Rafilo gave about me, I am a very strong advocate that knowledge management has to address key business issues. And so when I talked about the consumer organization, what were the key business challenges? So when I joined the company, I started to find out KM was not a good to have function. It was nice. The MD had told me that you start knowledge management, something new that is starting in India. But I went down and started seeing what are the business problems. I spoke to the MD, I spoke to the leadership team. So I'm explaining what you should be doing if you're not already doing it. And we found that they had major issues in terms of the salesperson's productivity. They had another issue in terms of recruitment of people, the right people. And there was a huge pileup of inventory. So this was actually blocking not only the revenue stream, as well as it was blocking the margins. In Afcon's infrastructure, the construction company I worked for, there was a lot of rework. People did not want to talk about it, but the management was very clear that we are having a lot of rework. So you construct something, then you demolish it, then you reconstruct. Okay, secondly, they were picking up contracts at very low margins or no margins. How can a business thrive if there's no margins in it? So it was an area of concern. And the third was contract clauses. Sometimes the construction contracts run into 14 different volumes. They run into 12,000 pages. People don't have time to go through every clause. And so some clause has been slipped in there that can catch up with you later. And the industry is plagued with time and cost overruns. So these were the key business issues that I had to address. And the way I went about it, engaging people. So the next principle will come into play, resolving these business problems. So when I was at Eureka Forbes, we were a make winner. We were recognized globally. When I was at AFCON, we've been a Mike winner for the last 7 years, and we were the globally most admired Mike winner in 2023. This is not an accident. This is because we started to address key business issues. So there are some questions. What if I'm not senior enough? I'm sure this question strikes you that, oh, I am not senior enough. And Rudolph is talking about going and addressing management issues. What if the organization came focus on something like quality or safety? And they say, so keep in mind that when I joined knowledge management, they wanted just a nice to have because the world was talking about knowledge management, but we started making it into, and in AFCONs, it became a competitive advantage. So my advice to you is that you should take up some key issues, work on it at a small scale, and then show the results so that then there is a trust that is built up and then you can take it upwards and forwards. The moment you're able to show that how knowledge management can solve a business issue, management starts to support you. Are there any questions on this first principle? Is it tough to implement or it is okay, I'll be able to do it? If there are questions, let me know.
There isn't at the moment. We can continue.
Okay. So either I am very clear or people are not interested in what I'm saying. Okay, let's go to the next principle. To
Uh,
enjoy the fruits you need
Sorry, Rudolph,
the
there is
product.
a question on the floor. Just give me a
Yes,
sec.
yes,
Hi, it's Judy over here. I was just
yes,
wondering,
Judy.
maybe you're going to cover in terms of project management, maybe if you were able to incorporate knowledge management into the project management process and templates. But I'm sure
Okay.
you're going to cover
Just,
that.
yeah. So you remind me, Judy, when I talk about processes. Okay. Would that be okay?
Yes.
Okay. I might forget the question. So remind me at that time and I will explain what we've done. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So the first principle I want you to know is that solve business issues. Start looking at your KM program and see, am I solving business issues or am I being nice? I've got a lovely library that people come to and I'm looking at engagement scores, etc. This is something that we need to look at urgently. Otherwise, KM has a shelf life. After some time, it will become just something that people have in the organization. It has to become a competitive advantage for the company. Just keep this. This is the first principle. The second principle, so there is a story about this butterfly, and there were a lot of seeds, and this butterfly liked the banana seeds and intended to take it down, but before taking it back to earth, went to God and said that, I love these bananas, and God gave it to the butterfly and says, yes, go and plant it. And so, therefore, we have got this beautiful bananas plantation across the world. So this was the first banana plantation in Africa. There is something very key. If any of your farmers, you will know that how do you do the pollination of bananas? That is something that you all can discuss among yourselves. Okay. So importantly, the principle that I'm talking to you, while you address the root cause, look at all the other branches. I call them branches. Look at the entire in its entirety. Judy asked me about project management. So what would happen is that sometimes we went into one particular aspect, we go deep dive, we find the root cause, but while solving out the root cause, we are not addressing all the associated. It's a system that we are looking at. So we not, so don't look at the entire system in its entirety. And so therefore, KM shows some little bit of flashes. Yeah, you did a great job, but this was not addressed overall. Okay, so let me talk to you about. So one of the key things I spoke in the first slide was on salesman productivity. Okay, so what we did is that as a KMT, we started going, visiting the branches, and this is something that KMers must do. You must understand your business in its entirety. Okay, so if you are from the transportation, the Gauteng transportation services. Go and understand what is the engineering challenges. Understand how customers buy tickets. What are the challenges that they face? What are the ticketing team challenges that they face? What are the operations team having? You need to go and examine in its entirety the entire thing. So here in the sales case, we went around and we started to understand. Oh, the salesmen have a different process, and so we came up with something called the salesman's ratios. So we had something called for door knocking, we had something called for demos, then we had something for called for closing skills, and we started examining the ratios. So if a person knocks on 10 doors but he's getting one appointment versus a salesman who's doing 10 door knocks and getting five demonstrations. Now, the guy who did one demo, maybe he's closing every sale, so he's got a 100% record, but the guy who did five demos closing only one, so he's got a 20% ratio. So we created this entire ecosystem to look at the entire sales cycle, and then we created strong training and monitoring, mentoring modules. Similarly, in the construction sector, we did something, we looked at it. There was a lot of rework that was happening. There were failures that were happening. I think I got thrown out. So I'm sharing my slide again. So when we were in the construction company, we looked at the entire process and found that sometimes there were failures when they went to execute a key process. So in order to cut the route, what we did is that we started to have beforehand, 6 weeks before major activity would start, or like girder launching or piling, experts would come down and we would then work with the teams to understand what was their philosophy, how they're going to go about the methodology that they adopted. But that was not sufficient. We started giving them knowledge packs. We started sending experts. We started examining the entire makeup, what machinery they're using. Are the persons who are operating the machinery qualified? And we started working on flawless execution. So this was, we addressed the road, but also the branches. Okay, so the key question is, how can I do this? I'm not an expert, but KMMers have to be a person who's curious. Okay, and you need to say that, okay, this is a problem that I need to solve, and therefore this is what I'm going to do. And so go ask questions, etc. And they say, is there a way in which I can work with you on this to solve this problem? People are most happy. Sometimes we get this question about their resistance to added processes. See, the success actually helps people to say, yes, I want it, I want it. So they call for it. Okay. So this was the second principle that I addressed. If there are any questions, you can ask it now, put it in the chat, or we can take it at a later. Okay. I'm going to the third principle. It's about trust. And there is this lovely story, African story about in the well, there was a leopard or a cheetah, there was a snake, and there was a man who was trapped. And this person came and he sees all of them. And they begged of him, bring me out, bring me out. Now he was scared. If he brings the leopard out, the leopard will eat him. If he tries to bring the snake out, it'll bite him. Okay, and he thought of the man, but anyway, so what he did is that he had faith. They said, we will not harm you. He brought the leopard out. The leopard did not harm him. He brought the snake out. The snake did not harm him. And he brought the man out, and the man became his friend. So, so trust is built up when you actually start working with people. You need to build trust. The story goes on. So I'm not going to get into the latter part of the story about how it brought prosperity, but trust brings prosperity. You can read up the story yourself. So the third principle is build trust. Now, as I told you, when we were, the key management issue was that there were a lot of rework. There were time and cost overruns. Okay, so this was something that we started to look at. But if you went down into the project site, then people would be very defensive. So what we did, we started to take red flags. We started creating red flags of all the issues that were coming out. And we said, how can we work on red flags? So the red flags that you see out here, we converted it into a small flag on the end. And we said quality means attention to detail. And the very same problems that people faced, we went to a particular site, there were 53 girders that had been discarded because there was a cone failure. So what we did, we created these lovely posters and said, quality means attention to detail. And we sent this out to every project wherever they were having girders that were being pre-stressed. We sent this out. We would create massive banners and put it up there when at the pre-stressing site so that people would learn the correct process. And we eliminated these issues. But what we did is that these red flags, we addressed it sensitively. And that's how we started building trust. So people then said, hey, these guys are not going to report us to management. Okay, so let us then give them. So they would come out to us with problems. How have others solved the problem? So we started building trust and connecting up people that, okay, you have this problem, but somebody else has solved it. Then we would look at root causes and then we'd create posters, put into processes, etc. So the third principle is build trust. If you have any questions, you can always ask. Otherwise, we'll go on to the next principle. And remember, you'll always have questions. How do you go about building trust? I don't belong to the same team, but I said that everything is on rapport, talking to people. I don't have a big team to do all this. We used to leverage their own team people to create these posters because we didn't have the technical knowledge. We would get it checked within their ecosystem of experts, how it would work. Okay. So this is how we started to build trust. The next principle, I know that whenever I'm reading about Anansi the spider, he's a very treacherous person, but also very impish person. I like naughtiness. So I like the story. And Anansi was upset because his stories were not being told. So he went to the gods and said that, look, can my story not be told? And so they gave him a very big challenge. Bring to us a python, bring to us a beehive, and bring to us a cheetah. And, so if you can do that without getting harmed, then we will tell your stories. And he did that. So you need to a very interesting story. You read that. So the principle that I want to bring out is tell their story. Don't tell your story. I was successful. Tell people's stories. And how we did this. There was this 105 meter tall, the tallest railway pier in India. So imagine the train is going at 100 meters, almost a 30-story building. It is traveling over the valley. But how do you get people to be interested in this? So we talked about, we went, found out the story. When it was 6 meters tall, the client said, no, it is not vertical, it is at an angle, and so it is not meeting our criteria. And so they demolished it, and they were very demoralized. And they took a vow and said that now we will make it into such a pier, the railways will be proud about it. And they reconstructed it. So the story that we said, demolished at 6 meters, it now stands tall proudly at 105 meters. Learn the story. So people started coming to understand what did they do in order to ensure verticality at 105 meters, which met the railway specifications because it was only that they required. Because the train has to run, you can't have centimeters difference, you have to have difference. So the company learned in this entire process. We also came out with heroes stories. So where people had saved their saved equipment or they had revived equipment, etc. We created stories and we started circulating in it. You need to tell people stories. When you start telling people stories, more and more people come and tell you about things that have happened, and slowly your knowledge management now becomes a hub for other people, and they say, yeah, this is a live example. It is a network, a living network in our organization. So how do I identify stories? These are normal questions. And we are in a serious business. Won't this look trivial? In a construction sector, they were saying, oh, Afghans heroes, but people loved it. And they all came up, hey, I want to tell my story. I want to tell my story. And so actually, stories is a very good way of transferring complex knowledge. So please look for stories. There are techniques. People all talk about storytelling, but there are techniques that you need to look at in that. In fact, folk tales are actually complex knowledge that are passed on from generation to generation. through the verbal language. Here we documented everything. We also would have videos, etc., that would tell, make it interesting for people, but tell their story. I'm moving on to the next principle. So this is about the rainmaker. So there was a rainmaker, and the village had no rains for 2 to 3 years, and so they went to the rainmaker, and this guy would make a lot of shouting, tom-tomming, etc., and so on, and make a lot of noise, and things may or may not happen. But there was this other person who said, no, if you build rainwater harvesting system, if you build wells, etc., when rain falls, it captures the rainwater, and so therefore we are safe. We don't have to depend on rain every year for rainfall, for our crops, for our cattle, for ourselves, for the groundwater. So I like this. So there are other stories also, rainmakers, okay, but this one is one that I have selected, okay, and it is from the Sukuma people of Tanzania. Okay, so you could look at. I'm daring to say that because there are 4, 5 stories of rainmakers, but I love this story, and this is Judy where I talked about this principle: influence your culture through strong processes. Construction management is a lot about project management. We build processes. So we had the learn before, learn during, learn after model, which were mapped onto the project start, project execution, project completion. So you see, our KM was actually mapped onto the project life cycle of a project. And we had specific activities, where we started to say that, okay, before you start an activity, the activity based classroom, which I spoke about, it was very critical. Okay, we used to have a kickoff workshop. Everybody comes to know what is it that we are wanting to achieve. I'm only talking about the key ones. Then, in terms of project execution at that time, we used to actually capture lessons learned and follow up immediately to see that there was zero. We used to call it flawless execution. Management did not like this term. They said if outsiders or the client sees flawless execution as a project, they'll say that you all don't do flawless execution. Therefore, you'll have taken it on as a project. But still, they allowed us to do it. Okay, and our entire project, Judy, this is for you. If a project is lasting 5 years, on the right we had a signed off knowledge management action calendar for the entire lifetime of the project, saying that okay, at this stage we will do a pre-activity before, this is during, and this is after. So that's how we had, and we put point system in the introduction. They said I am a pioneer in gamification. I love it. I gamify the entire system. So this is how we embedded knowledge management into processes. Okay. So we got a lot of questions whenever I present this. Why can't senior management push KM initiatives? If they say that this is our culture, then automatically people follow. No, it doesn't happen. You need to create the right processes and thereby change behaviors. If the processes are there, people fall into a process, and slowly you'll see the entire organizational culture being changed. Judy, have I answered your question?
Yes, thank you. Yes, thank you very much.
Yeah, and if you want, connect with me separately and I can take you through this in great depth. Okay. Okay. We go to the next principle. This is about the famous drummers. So these, whenever they wanted to convey a message to the gods, okay, so there would be a particular rhythm that they would do, or when you have to convey messages to different people, so they would. These are the famous drummers of Africa. Okay, so the principle that I want to build up is powerful engagement. So we started coming out with a lot of campaigns. I I am a pioneer in gamification in knowledge management. In 2004, I came out with the Knowledge Olympics, and I run this every 4 years. It has never failed to succeed. So we do campaigns. So whenever you have this thing, you need to engage people. People love to break the monotony. If you give them, oh, you have to write lessons learned, you have to do this, you have to do that, okay, it becomes a monotonous process. So what we do is that we mix it up with campaigns. We make it exciting for people to participate. So we have got something during the Diwali, that is our Hindu New Year, where people give gold. So we'll actually create campaign about share your gold and win recognition. So this is how then people would actually be motivated to participate in different campaigns. During the Olympic Games, I'm telling you, no one is immune to the Olympic Games. You definitely start to follow the Olympic Games, follow your sports, your disciplines. So we create all the challenges in the organization around the Olympic Games. Try it in your organization. Take my help if you require, and you'll see how it will succeed. You can do it for the Olympic Games. You can do it for rugby if you want. If you have the World Cup rugby going on, you can have it if you have for football. I don't know what all that sports activities. Try it out. Now, one principle that I have is that I generally avoid giving cash or money as a reward. I rather give a recognition signed by the top leadership, or they will call the person for a cup of tea, or they take them out, or they'll give them a voucher for their family to be taken out. We find that to be more of a motivator than only cash rewards. Otherwise, we have some people who will always win because it is cash, and the others get cheesed off. They say no, because you're trying to monetize my knowledge. I'm not interested. Importantly, form communities so that then people can be sharing among themselves. It brings a sense of belongingness. Okay? And finally, look at promoting people who are your ambassadors, so that they are the ones when people look at it and say, oh, this person is on a fast track because he has contributed to organization learning, etc. It creates a difference. Others people want to also participate and show that, okay, I am ready for the next level because I am sharing knowledge and I'm being part of these knowledge campaigns. Okay? So sometimes I get these questions. We track engagement scores. It's 25. When I'm reading on the net, it is only at 19%. Isn't it good enough? Or they say gamification won't work in our culture. Monetary rewards are preferred over recognition. I have practiced different organizations across different cultures, and let me tell you, unless you engage people, don't bother about 25%. 90% people love to participate if they feel that they are valued. They love to belong to a community. They want to do something for the community. They love to get a recognition that they can put on their table, a small cup or a trophy or a small plaque or a recognition from the MD. They would love to have that. Okay, so your promotion scores go up, your engagement scores go up if you are able to engage people correctly. And gamification, if done rightly, gamification today has become a abused word. When an employee joins the organization, he has a gamified learning systems. If he does so many of the online modules, he gets so many points, he can take it and he can get a dinner. I'm sorry. When I join an organization, I'm motivated enough. I will, of course, go through all your online modules. Why are you gamifying everything? Gamification should only be used for complex challenges. Okay, keep this in mind. I am a I am a promoter of gamification, but in the right context. I don't like it being trivialized because it's a very important and powerful tool that we can always have another session on gamification if you so want. Okay, and then the next principle that I would like to move to is about campaigns, creating campaigns. There is this story told about how these child, he was left out in the cold, and he had to survive the night. It was very cold, and there was a volcano in the distance, and he wanted to bring the fire of the volcano to warm him up. So how did he do that? He motivated the other children to dance with him all night, and so they all kept themselves warm as though they had brought the fire close to them. So the important thing is about the innovative campaigns. So create campaigns that people feel want to participate in, which is linked to the earlier points. Engaging campaigns, engagement. We had this challenge given to us by this organization called Eureka Forbes. I want every single employee's competence to be improved. and it has to be documented. We created Expedition Everest, and so people were climbing Mount Everest. So we had to study what they have to do, and we took them over the next 9 months. Every employee's competence improved. But people felt they were actually climbing Everest because we gave them things like pickaxes, backpacks, goggles, snow boots, etc., as and when they went through the different challenges. So, but they had to earn those rewards in order to go to the next level. And it is being written about. The other one, this one I love. This company, there was a lot of rework was happening, and so there was a lot of margins getting lost. You know, in construction, there's always cost and time overrun. We created this Rambo, a model war on rework. We'll get it right first time, every time. And everyone wanted to be a Rambo. And they said, yes, this is how we are going to do it, and this is how we are doing it. And after they document how we got it right first time, and it changed the entire complexion of the organization. They said, if you can do it only during a campaign, why can't you do it at other times? And this organization today is thriving because of that. We even created something called Mission 10,000. Earlier, I explained about all the programs that we had, activities that we do, activity-based classroom, etc. And all. We had point system. We created Mission 10,000. If the project achieves 10,000 points of the knowledge activities in a year, they have achieved their knowledge management mission. So we called it a mission 10,000. People love to belong to a mission. So the entire project started working towards achieving and doing the knowledge management processes in order to show that I have achieved mission 10,000. So these are engaging and innovative campaigns that you need to start looking at. What works? Look at your culture. What is it that attracts people? What can we do? I've always asked this question, I get puzzled. Should the senior manager push game initiatives? It works only for that 1 month or 2 weeks. After that, you're not going to get any. Wouldn't there be a resistance to added processes? If you make processes fun and rewarding, people love to participate. We'll go on to the next principle. Have a network of ambassadors. So this story is about how the children were the ones who actually went around and created change in this entire village. So they had decided that we want to make it a happy place. We want to ensure that it is green, water, etc. So they went around talking to people, and there was a network of ambassadors. So create a human sensor network. I have always loved this. That we Wherever I have worked, we've created knowledge ambassadors. One place we call them senators. Okay, and we created a parliament where they could pass bills, where they could talk to employees, where they got a budget. So if there were 75% of them had this, then they could come to the management board and they would present that we've talked to the employees, and the employees say that we want this to happen, we want that to happen, etc. So we created a human sensor network. So when people talk about organization culture and doing culture mapping, etc., you have here a ready-made platform of people. They should be motivated. Question that I keep getting: is the ambassador a dedicated role? Are they paid some incentives? No. What we have done wherever I have worked is that the knowledge ambassador, we give them special training. We treat them specially. So they will get training in terms of communication skills, motivation, influencing, uh, written communication, so many different what the managers get, delegation, leading teams. So they would get about 12 different trainings that they'll get over 3 year period, four modules every year, so that their competence will improve. What managers training would get, they would get while they were executives. Okay, so this was the importance of rewarding, recognizing, and investing in your knowledge ambassadors. Don't use them as slaves. And then I come to the last principle 9. I know there are 10, but 10 is a surprise. Okay. There was this chieftain, and people used to give him gifts, and there was this poor fellow who had come with something very small. But the chieftain declared that no, this is the most valuable gift, and then people started looking at him differently. So the principle I'm trying to talk is, can management become your promoter? Now, when we started working on knowledge management in this construction company, their vision was to be a world-class EPC. And in 4 years, they changed their vision to be a knowledge enterprise. Imagine a construction company globally declaring that we want to be a knowledge enterprise when we reach a $2 billion turnover. That then was basically the management was now our promoters. So knowledge management became everything to everyone. It was so easy after that for us to implement knowledge management. It's something like quality. If the company declares that no, we want to be a Six Sigma company, then everything is looked at from that lens. So can you get management to be your promoters? And so therefore they started coming out with these journals and endorsing, writing notes on all these different journals that we used to come out with. So they were really our promoters. And the question I get asked is that, what do you mean promoters? Why can't they always support our initiatives, don't they? But I want you to go beyond that. They should actually say that I am a knowledge ambassador. That's what they should be doing. That is really what I am talking about in this particular principle. Principle 10 is, can you share me one principle that you follow? What you have learned? I'd like anyone in the audience, is there something that I have not covered and you wanted to say, hey, this is one I want to share. This is what is success for me. So I'll keep this. Anyone in the audience would like to share? It will be a good learning experience for all of us.
Okay, I'm just going to go to the two hands that I see.
Thank you, Rudolph, for a very nice presentation. The one principle, and I often need to remind me as well, is to listen and ask people what keeps them awake at night. And if we say we need to align knowledge management, it's not only the strategy and the high level, it's also where people are daily working and improving business and moving the business forward. So what keeps them awake at night?
Thank you. I love that one because, when I spoke about knowledge management, where if you see my first slide was about sales ratios, etc. This was actually the problem. Even the salespeople, they became more successful because of our interventions. So when I talk about at a high level, it actually affects people at the lower levels also. But a lovely question: what keeps you awake at night? Okay, and how can I help you to have a good night's sleep? Thank you. Anyone else wants to jump in?
Just one more.
Yes.
Good morning, Rodolph. Kolani Chauki here. And good morning.
Yes, Kulani, nice to see you again.
Nice to see you too. I always live by the principle that don't try to outshine your manager. Rather make your manager shine. And it will support the principle 9 that you spoke about. Thank you.
Thank you for the lovely insight, Kulani. Very good one. Yes, you need to make your management look good. Okay, so fantastic. Thank you very much. So, if you have any questions, my details are here. My email ID is out there. Please feel free to write to me, to connect up with me, and I'll be happy to have any other sessions, etc., to come down and help your organization. Thank you very much. It was my pleasure. And it is an honor to be here today. Thank you so much. Are there any questions? So thank you. Thank you. I really enjoyed presenting to all of you. And I took back a lot from what Judy and the other two people asked me, mentioned about what keeps you awake at night and get your boss, make your boss shine. So that is fantastic. Thank you very much.
There is a question here before you go.
Yes.
Hello, good morning, everybody, and thank you for your presentation. So when it comes to big organizations, you normally have policies and procedures. You have an internal audit department. You have knowledge departments. You have people who look at continuous improvement. So it seems like, you know, you've got quite a fully fledged overarching type of strategy in terms of your 9 principles. How do we manage, you know, upwards and sidewards? Because we seem to be obviously overstepping other roles in the organization. So how do we manage this entire process using these 9 principles?
Okay, so very good question. So one is we never overshine any department. Let's keep this in mind. So in Afcons, it's a $2 billion company, which has 5,500 employees, all engineers, professionals, etc. And they've got all the quality department, etc. So what we do is that our team is only 13 people, 1-3, and we don't have all the expertise. So we actually engage with people, say in the quality department, we engage people who are looking after lean construction. We go down to the people who are in, say, piling, etc. We involve them actually. So we are really a catalyst. We are creating the culture, interweaving the culture within the organization. You know, so we don't overshadow anyone. Actually, we are bringing out their knowledge and helping. And other thing, we address 4 company issues: rework, margins, cost overruns, time overruns. These are big in a project. So these are the issues. Everyone also sort it out. But KM cannot take the what do you call that, the credit for it, because it is they who have contributed to it. You know, so maybe I overshadowed that by talking about what KM has done. Okay, KM has done. We've enabled the organization, and therefore we changed the culture, and then management decided to be a knowledge enterprise, so that every department actually then had to work as knowledge as their cornerstone or as their resource, and how do we make it flow through the organization so that we get benefits. Okay, I hope I've been able to explain a little bit of this thing that I may have brought out inadvertently.
Thank you very much, Rudolph, for the answers. And before you go away, can you just wait and listen to the round of applause that you are going to get to the audience, to those who are online, and now from all of us. Colleagues, may we please give him a round of applause. Thank you so much, Rudolph. And I must say, we're very excited as usual that we have you here, and we will continue to have you here. You've hosted some of our webinars, and we know we can still call on you. So we are very much appreciative. Thank you so much. Thank you.